is the last me my consideration right now for that even the black pen out of the body sweat and things like that. Your has still a black pen and then on the intended goes to that the things sliding trade or black things sliding check the now is planning to bring the of Ajam and the things going down on the to the left side. So like the scenario that I'm going to coming at. Yet like I'm going to think for that the accuracy base maybe might say that that Zora code I'm going to bring my zero feet secretly different that of that kind of those might be like accuracy base between them and Zora might be six kind of and like they was thing that enough power and what like to catch like the dragon head then so then to for the signature catching of the dragon and so then understand the dragon head so I might be having some sort of lateral data specific so might be like that with the thing so like a person like Dora might be talking fear to be putting on an actual pay acting one of like another trying to while trying to like content when in actuality that plan might be to that somebody manipulated to definitely using kind of a item as like because that like Dora to achieve Jora's skills in the data. I see that that data typically like the name of the Anderson right now is that like maybe according to that something like a different master plan that it might have been something that might have maybe secretly might have given like the order to Illyrio to that to help like different team up with like the team army uh, might have not happened according to like the secret orders to like Illyrio might have been like actually just released the name of Anderson right now so like and Liam the strength might have been so maybe through something more of that like Illyrio might have given like the pre-product to might be like that bit of the case between them and might be all part of that project plan to that base like or might have the fitting static by the time Joffrey will be even replacing or what like the new king might be along the lines of like Joffrey might be like making the grand scheme like a master plan eventually to that get might have that the plans by the time that what the replacement might be like that to do something. So the might the place might be aware of like the possibility of black dimension of black being able to have a potential with a and that the possibility of random most likely being able to like catch in the environment. Might be along the lines of like about predict that like the field might see like that thing which is the to like to so in kind of towards that the different banning towards like the planning and at that point to like through a battle between that through the Dothraki through the allegiance with like the Dothraki and like the in that way, by the time that the Dothraki are around like the Sultan and the bringing things to like the things that it like might have to be and get somebody understand that like what she plans most likely might be by then for like so that bring down at so that would still then be that way enrich like the Film army and you need to have like the enrich with the Film army that was into like the things landing to get revenge for like the down from that and that way to that time it exactly doesn't matter to that like the Film army as well as that the like the army will be battling each other how that right outside like the things landing till who's slightly close like the things landing is exactly by the time that the Punjab and like the Punjab by those dimensions that they will need to have the Punjab and like the Punjab families and where is the house and at that point for like the community like the things landing to like because they make them accommodate and make them move and it at least capture when like my idea of like the top priority is for about the like for market plan may feel like that's the case and definitely that way to take the went down and that way to that defeat like the one of like the 20 army remain for 20 army as well as like the remaining of the army and to like jump them in like states and that way to reflect all and force them to be part of like the King's Landing army in that way to like on one phase like in this like all make them the King's Landing army and on top of that like to also take Japan and take that it's like a and then to through them to usually have that the dragon get at by then on could be that in the kind of same atlantic landing and soon after that then so then on like so she might be hoping to that as like the dragon that that point to bring down Thanos And so that exactly might be hoping that is the like the dragon extra cat and like Jeffrey might getting hold of it, the dragon that Jeffrey might be able to like somehow manage to like somehow like the dragon and that way to like have three dragon getting added to that absolute harmony, getting to living into that to control possibly living into the control and to talk of like the ultimate outcomes of like the landing to be might be the extent to which lack person I could not plan might be like about to that right? So then like at that point by the time whether we like forward of like anything of like standing that at that point like like standing to be what's to be work really more for that absolutely more on the thing that to be when they are still up in a challenge like that's a that it might be along the lines of that maybe that's the actual ultimate goal of like the free and not man continuously that we about the data and the thing so that reason which is research right now is that like private lands are like might be giving absolutely contract that like Jamie and like an army of 30,000 might be definitely be able to be like the window of an army. So they do like the absence of like a dark like window of continuously is like the window of an army. Might be along the lines of that the concept that like private lands are making up definitely not great and definitely like private land is just plan what like they might be pretending to like how to have like the lands just prepaid that might be most likely through Jamie and like the 30,000 army to that go up to the well between like the window of army and like normally free carry on but like and bring carry on back but also in that process to also take Kathleen as like a captive and bring Kathleen to like the house of land to their family might be and like to keep Catholic as like a family. Exactly like how Tyrion was like taken by Catherine. Might be around the lines of like the as to like how Tiger Lancer might be setting out how to have like the Lancer repairs and stuff. Uh, might be like what we might be planning to name of my generation. So I believe different tyrants like plan might be most likely to like that way while having that way to keep Catholic in like the House of Lands in that thereafter and like that way to that to encourage Eddard and they need to have like encourage Eddard like at that point with that would attention to that three gambling but like Eddard would be showing up to that thereafter to like the House of like the landscape at that point on the thing thereafter we got like the landscape to that bring down Eddard might be along the lines of like the plan of like Titan plans that are might be definitely find it very better. Here's a run even during right now that like even to the bottom line that we might be still live to that without might be the fact with the rules that you know that what we might have not what you might have had in or even in marrying or what at all even way back then might just be that the activity but limit everything like the only factor of lack is the question of power and lack that I can affect between only put even alone with lack something myself myself married or that might be like that's waiting effectively certainly my version and even back then that's something myself most likely has a plan and my double seeing Robert as that what you that you know certainly going down and literally replace the some with Jamie might be along the lines of differing that the only other than important like looking myself actually myself given to that in after life might in that time I feel that actually of that the case that make myself very so like the game of like that the fact of like Liana so it might have and also feel like in the spring still like even before like finding out about like Liana so we might have so we might have been about some to accepting right now might be next actually the certainly might have been very simple so that the lead might appear in White House than that, but might be supposed to after coming back from the context, like the next morning where see that with the and the might be aware of it. Might be like a expecting of things to that the game spring that the current might to bring that to bring down at like a movement like the theme of that on the current mind is like a bring that plot in page like and most likely something calling for like meeting user plan with and calling Eddard towards like the home. In like the middle of the night, it's like it's not that I'm not looking for that Eddard, not to fix anything and basically Eddard. That I'm probably coming from like the scenario to be like after this Eddard was in that room like like from like just the like steadily close like the door and basically for like Cersei probably to like by Eddard really is expecting it like Cersei from at that point shouting out help. Just like the from within like the home loudly that is now it's that I'm and Cersei most likely creating all sorts of like for significance to help work. And basically roughly at that point like critically shouting out help from like within the home second and so like at that point I'm looking for like uh where as well as like pages and so this thing to be appearing from outside the home and basically like thematic to like open the doors like that I'm looking so that point I'm going to bring for like it up opening the door and then also bring one opening that was opening the doorway and so it's more like Sophie putting on that as we say acting in front of like fans and being and of the thing like Sophie in the like telling the and actually in like the aspect of like over that is Eddard had made to move on like so that Eddard had prepared for like Sophie to send that time secretly and like he has made this move on like Sophie in like that you know like over to be along like the Sophie in like a man of like telling to like parents as well as they who might be proud of like about the my friend what maybe to like plan that they plan to like friend or being friend at the like Alexander. So like at that point that plan to like say like putting on that at this day acting in front of like another where I will be shot and basically that way like the spreading for like the landing about like and if you run a feeling that like it's like a winner kick person and basically that way I'm notifying by the time that Robert would be done plan from that funding like and then notifying of that Robert would be sharing about this like shop like at that point initially Robert like not straight away believing it but like a different like where is such a failed like actually succeeding in like convicting Robert that they actually saw like the entire thing happen and basically like that way where as well as Paris like basically like uh that betraying it up and basically that it's pretending to be like witness and basically like that way like they like that the feeling is that convincing and freaking and convincing over the flag of now and not of the convincing and I'm also protecting for like that leads to fight and like I'm going to fight for also like the armies that tend to have more down like the mountain like the sitting in necessary Robert might have seen as like an extremely valuable asset to lab. It might like Robert might have seen as like an absolute asset to like Robert and like might be like a basic of the image to that. At least I think they have that much self understanding that Robert also hearing about like to be like it have like a level of like Robert happening like not setup. So like at that point, I'm totally playing for like uh, Robert to be extremely disappointed and extremely enraged with like become and I'm playing for like King Robert like was like delivering the punishment of like maybe bringing down Eddard like now that I'm looking so like that way I'm totally playing with succeed like villains by the end of maybe like the loss of like Eddard happening through such a manner. And I'm noticing before like the time where like the suppose or like bringing down of like adapt 21 would be happening like a different at that point like adapt to be put in an instant state that like landing is like it's not kind of moving. So like right before like the time for like internet time to like bring down adapt before that time like right before that time like implement a Robert like meeting with like adapt and like something like Robert is having to like meet adapt for like the last time every at that point, I'm totally putting for like like this revealing to like Robert about like the secret between like between and Jamie, and basically I think like I'm in Robert like now so currently I'm looking at by then like I could think that Robert is most likely now like so quickly being convinced like like the Forbes delegations again like without that basically like Robert at that point think that this year that is like trying to like that's why they're trying to like update from that kind of situation to be along the lines of those thing Robert said we have seen and like Robert wants to believe that about like was not that and that way like I was spending like through forward like punishment like or like and like the law of like and was like the tsunami that I was really listening to during it. So like at least my during right now that like might be about like that like some of that like series right now making talking about that woman and so like Catherine might have been fortunately in madly in love and might have wanted to like marry and sort of might be like back to the city that we might experience. So definitely might have been like the research involvement might have been that of that failure. Failure might be an extremely realistic young man. It might have been solely due to like the social work of like realistic work of like failures that might have spiraled to like the loss of like problem that it might have been attacked to the city, especially mentioning who work for fail to like, prevent like the marriage between Edda and Catelyn and those things fail might have done that. Might have been what might have happened at the past certainly mentioning so that might have been things that might have most likely manipulated like Aerys Targaryen into like eventually leading Aerys Targaryen into taking the decision to like bring down and up further. Uh, and also most likely at a point as well might have been what might have happened to the league in like the concept of league might have been very uncertain right. So like the 3 months reaction right now is that like upper like the loss of the other like and spring that we might have a feeling of like eventually being able to marry Kiri might be along the lines that way might have been hopeful that and might have been like the limit to like Caitlyn falling in love with like Eddard and marrying Eddard might have came as such an absolute shock for like unscripted short for like days back then might have been like that things games for game and game which is like Liam is bring that since then I'm so different ways might have been absolutely feeling defeated and frustrated of like not being able to like have Caitlyn might have been like pretty game and game and like at that point like back then might have like impossible for like to be able to like to take to like bring down adapt as long as adapt like the norm such like medical might be along the line that they made up well. So like simply to do and eventually point to create like a valid reason that might eventually both adapt uh, to leave like wonderful and come to like between land and that we at that point to like simply bring down adapt like and different along such lines and the different ways might have started to plan might have been what might have happened several months and that planning of that prediction might have been what might have really reached like a point where like it might have felt that we if that Baelish manages to like bring down John Aaron like that at that point like the scene Robert might be definitely ending up replacing that John Aaron with like the loss of like John Aaron with like end up like kind of expecting might be along the lines of different language might have came down to the conclusion of the black singing and translating along in this mind might have been like city supplement. In that way, like I'm saying that it might have been not likely really that might have knew that city might have knew about like the future and found out about like the secret between like the tweet and about like what we can see. We might see that like this is supplementation that might have been failed through bail that like most likely Jonas might have found out about like the secret between that circuit and gaming and might have questioned it might have been what might have happened to supplement to like this and that scenarios might have been more likely a villain stick lack master plan of lack failed to eventually bring down and down and that way Mary Caitlin might be lack might have been like that with the David Bentley might have story that we're doing right now. So yeah, so that but yeah, still my information now for like the white purpose like might keep having like the in a way might be having like to not fighting likely by repeatedly taking life so it might be that that was the case that we not able to bring 1,000 years back like and like particular about like that might have been of like the drastic climatic change and like there might have been a huge crowd which might have also been like the white person like the and that reflect the white person black and what we have like survive like that climate change might have been one point of but like I'm sorry like the layer of like the white bone of yellow might have man might have been tougher than like the remaining white bone him alone might have barely managed to like survive and barely managed to like escape to other sort of areas and to like the world might have been what might and which might have been maybe and might have the accelerator of that white bone might have actually made it to almost likely the Sharon and the Ashai there as well it might the temperature might be extremely cold temperature might be negative the famous temperature. Then like the flame was continuously up and like that way almost might have happened towards like the end of like South Indian that might be like against the flame temperature. Uh, After that, like I'm going like the leader of the white was up my down step team survived the like the shadow numbers and I for like the remaining of like 2000 of years most likely by targeting uh, like dragons, maybe sort of like that get hatched might be like weaker dragons might be like that are fruited like in that way to like taking up those like everything that's the leader provide what made us at least not by like the channel like I saw like the past thousands of years. I think recently I'm just trying like the leader of natural writing might have done back to the north to like the location close to like the wall and everything might have been what made it happen and like the leader of like the white focus might have been uh, accumulating a lot of like life source within himself which like he might have moved to like celebrate on planning the world and we might have shared that with like fellow fallen like white focus and to start them and bring them back to life like they might have shared what was life for the president might have been access wanted like life source to them which might have been wanted and having the stable solution. That way like recently in through like the data of like the white bottom like like the remaining white bottom might have returned back to like life might have been what might have happened now like thousand years might have been what might have happened to certainly my experience which is that it's like the main experience right now like the white bottom might have already found some questions might have been what might have happened to the and then like the white bottom person might be the threat for like more life source for the master and the might be electric gates that living things for like not to like speed more life source like and different that white water might be through like the through like the bicentric like so that might be a conscious attempt by like the white water to like view up like more soldiers from like the walls to like those something for like undertension and basically uh to lure them towards like the white focus so that like the white focus at that point to like turn down even more slowly than like take away the light bulb might be along the lines of that the different attempt by like the white bulb might be what may be happening right now especially like the example. So like the Cleveland reaction right now for like you know to like hardly and slightly want to like adopt to like the winter response to that support like independent but like I'm looking for like the current senior leader and like the one of the things that can probably producing to allow snow to like work set out like that for the area and also like for him along with like when the soldiers like deciding to like check out like the situation and like the the areas like now then I'm basically that while they will be going up to like the property area like I'm hoping like them like leaks of the taking of the standing right in function or something this like this not that person but like I'm hoping like the lot of unwilling that it might have already happened and I'm hoping it might be most likely the white worker through like what might be upon the person that power like take like soda even unroll and transfer like like in fact like under different like while like the senior leader and like the board and like team would be heading off to like the upon the area like in like running into uh and a controlled angle bench like so control might be get might be controlled by like the whiteboard like the not that like an angle bench that like so high uh, white focus like I what are the trends for like that senior leader and like the team to be shockingly seeing it's like a direct and something and at that point I'm looking for like most likely even before like window arrives like the white focus like surrounding that senior leader and his team and brings that down and like taking away their like focus like scenario therapy. So like that senior leader and the team like like I did a scenario where and then setting off to like save you know then like I'm like you know making their better and like back to like the more like personality and I'm totally like the time getting extremely even more close to like with the like and so at that point like feeling no and Sam at that point like feeling actually getting starting like a yeah and so things like this scenario that I'm seeing and all the video right. So like the team and the Korean right now, especially for that so right now, don't be able to like bring themselves to that to reveal that before about like the bigger figuring that training and like the feet and everything. about genre and with different industry. For like Eddard right now in like Robert's like current weekend body and mind state like a down being able to like give bring himself to like give Robert and strong. It's like this now it's I'm sort of thing and the different of Eddard as well to be right now on the like of that is the like on the time to the like for like Robert. Sort of them bring like Eddard like pairing like something that they and like not revealing in picture like about the like now so definitely I'm referring soon after like that would be dealing like Robert or like I'm referring like something to be to experience and then I'm so different to find out like if that adapt has revealed that also like Robert or not like I'm referring like so basically soon after like another leaving like Robert soon like everything like so straight away entering like Robert soon like now then referring so by the way, Robert at that time will be trying to reflect something that can that's something basically in an extremely really problem and feeling with that so things that we realize that like adapt the thing might be of the that when we think of adapt as like an actual code then it's not that that like adapt as like so at that point, we don't realize that like not having to be like separate to like over the flat is not that important. So definitely that way, like I'm just saying that the way as well in terms of it to be like the person that like Robert is not going to that make it even to like the my period of the like process to be and like but like I'm saying even during once it was here, I find like but even then like I'm kind of like somebody remembering at that point for like adapt to be most likely kind of like the innocent assumption that they see like according to the reason like adapt and looking to be sparing Cersei that Jamie and like motivating to like about to like that act of like adapt might be resulting in like definitely Cersei like not causing any danger to like Robert to be along the lines of like like a 4% like set up to be in and like that way like head up and leave Robert side with like the scenario that under so like as during my time like and during like so we for the feeling of like the possibility of like maybe like Robert get expert with like Robert somewhere school action like it may be that like in the scenario that I'm getting so like that when sharing it about that Robert integrating that one day being over returning back to like North and at like one positive as well as like they also feeling like the feeling kind of a positive of like maybe that having it's usually maybe having a change of its mind and will be head up like revealing like to like Robert to be along the lines of like these things, the possibility that can like what we might be fearing. And like that we have to different that's what we taking advantage of that Robert's current situation to can basically in that during my time like it's like something that Robert would take on and that can relax the tree most likely bring down Robert. There's like typical scenario that I'm looking forward to and that will be again. So simply I'm looking like before bring this down Robert like can like the tree most likely the next video will have thick man of like to reveal like the difference between Jamie and the switch to that Robert and only after that, like I'm saying that while Howard if we go through that after song and then like and when I'm that's the thing to be bringing out in a extremely realistic manner, like to scenario that I'm slowly bring and to get it in right. So like at least I was very interesting right now. It's definitely for like Howard's like finance will come to to be most likely Howard this way but later to be most likely to have Joffrey replace Black Robert as like the new king and basically that we have to bring like Robert to like prop up Joffrey be like the new king than Robert for the like that new thing. So that we have to bring like Robert it was will like take the decision to like have Joffrey replace Robert to like the new king and like end up they and like putting planning and like the hand bring like the very hand effective in book and itself to King Joffrey is that like the final decision of like Robert that I'm focusing on right now. Also the film and the Korean film right now for like maybe I'm focusing for to be like the surface like realistic plan and on with like surface might also be given to like land stuff to like step the uh if that up will step and facility to like for is forcing like critically forcing like Robert and for the thing Robert to like bring more and more. right, like Robert will be heading on like hunting, and like we might have maybe considered that to be to reflect the possibility of the hunting going wrong, and Robert getting brought down as part of this is all this stage during hunting. Might be along the lines of different maybe some people might have realistically plan it to that such extent to bring it up with the self-belief of Robert. Might be what might have happened to also like a possibility that I'm looking at very right now. That might be one thing that Jordan might have always that ensure to but it might take it right. It might be that actually the things that you know which I'm looking right now. I'm looking for next the base of time like Jordan and last Jordan about to do it like to start it then I'm going to Jordan and technically to train where and something there might be an agreement between something and Jordan uh, connecting to Illyrio and all of them to really get and bring the society harmony as well as kind of to develop that towards in improve with to getting landing and basically that way to kind of for eventually the things landing to not only to the reason might eventually show the seizing of the a great extent of the army but also to then to have them landing even to literally to target as well so then to have the extendedly to that way for marketing plan to which also also dragon part of the now it might be along the extent to which the plan might have been the dream of the then so the other thing yet in the certain situation with still of the not only something for so on to feel tempted basically taking advantage of the situation to lead the Dothraki army and to take advantage of the panel and basically the possibility of obtaining that dragon throne then take advantage of all of that to maybe for Jorah to attempt to take over the king's landing and attempt to be the role of and the new king the king's landing to be along the lines of so defined for Jorah to feel that absolute template basically actually Jorah so sort of creating that making that absolute different for of time it's again the that and to the scenario that and that way Jorah bring while manipulating tenor of Jorah telling that plan is we plans to take home and everything when actually Jorah may be only using tenor to achieve Jorah goals to become the thing expecting planning. So but we are bring with an engine bring Jorah from this point on likely succeeding in converting Karl Marx eventually at that point Jorah is leading the army instead of Rakyat. It's they don't just take the to the thing landing to destroy the thing landing to take over the thing landing. It's saying the scenario that is producing and yes, so the police might have variation action right now. It's that the wine seller might have been one of the birds of where it might have been the case of the police right now that is really so they might not have in a sort of master plan to expand the army of police the repeating for the point in the film uh as well as with the tenors and attain dragon so these dragons usually through first plan and slightly might not which is a short for so we might see that again community frame will end up here bring the betrayal of Hilario on the and lecture of likely might be solely based on Hilario between breed might be the case supplement frame so Hilario Hilario might have won a lot more well and in order to attain that website, it might have been available by the back in the scenario might have been now by helping the team of the lecture authority and send them on to bring down second landing and while at the same time while hiding that social factor from the king's landing to for figure out to trade the good guy might have to on that as acting as like genuine and loyal to the critics landing and this might have made such a betrayal and this might have given that crucial information of the incoming party to like putting standing with like the pop of like that, so setting in like Hilario, setting landing handsomely the body, like Hilario, and that way to that through such a manner like to attain a lot of wealth. It might have been strategy played by Hilario the sender, and it might have been actually definitely my Hilario right now. Yes, also the theme of the Centurion business right now for like doing like interrogation of like the wine cellar from the different from like the wine barilla, revealing about like the social information of like the things landing, expecting and being aware of like the incoming of British like to the Japanese like not that I'm going so like at that point I'm going to bring that to that point most likely putting on that absolute safe acting in front of like the in front of like the Japanese and in front of like then that is like absolutely so to like find out about it and basically at that point I'm going to find for like Jordan to like see play out this strategy and like creating like like uh, manipulating like Kalmago and creating like things that you just like create that absolute range within that Kalmago and like to have that Kalmago fight to that motivate Kalmago to that want to get revenge against like the king's landing for like the king's landing like attempt to bring down the like Khaleesi banner through that to my killer like to be along the lines and totally something that for like 2000 related at along the like so I feel like inside that feeling of like absolute faith and to that like get to win and bring down like the game landing within Caldrago or the related like living scenario that I'm